I'm just getting the conversation.
Thank you. Now that'll be on. Oh, there he is. There he is.
And there are some problems.
Guess what?
Are you up and ready to go?
I'm rolling.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Sorry for a few minutes of being late. Bob, if you will do a roll call, please.
Yes, physically present, Jeremy Fisher. Physically present, Jerry Nelson. Physically present, Neil Beaver. Physically present, Robert M. Ferguson Jr. Also present is Peggy Myers, Tony Janeway, Damon Prater, Steve Hicks, Christina Lynn, and 16 citizens.
Thanks, Bob.
Yes.
Okay, we need to approve the minutes for the public meeting for March 10th.
Make a motion to approve the March 10th public hearing minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved as printed. We also have to approve the public meeting minutes on 3/24.
Public hearing. I'll make a motion to approve the public hearing minutes from March 24th.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved as presented. The next thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the last meeting.
The only thing I saw was that there was at the end about the liquor license, it said Jerry Nelson advised the decision is made.
Which we did not.
And
we
I
did
would like
not.
to say that no decision is
Oh,
made.
Right,
may I have that?
right. And
I would-
there's another correction on there too.
Okay, I need,
Which one?
Yep. looks like I need to read them a little closer. Let's see.
As we get over the eyes.
Yeah, well, that's my fault. Which page was it?
Page 3, the second to last sentence.
Jerry Nelson advised, that no decision is made.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna take out the, and I'm gonna put in that no decision is made.
The other correction is, I believe you have me physically absent on that meeting.
Do I?
Physically absent. I was here.
Nelson,
Yeah, that one. Is that correct?
I'm changing that to present. Any other corrections? You know, you guys can send those to me before the meeting and I'll
Oh,
make
I didn't
sure
know
they
that.
get
Sorry.
done.
Well, I did send you one today, but I was tied up with some other stuff. Anyway,
Okay, I have made both of those corrections
With the correction.
and I have initialed them.
I'll make a motion to approve the corrected March 10th meeting minutes.
say, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved.
Thank you.
Okay, open issue, I do not see Rhonda Siders here tonight. So we will move on. Next thing on the agenda is the CDBG resolution.
And you guys have a copy of that?
Mhm.
So, Do you have any questions about it?
I mean, I'm not in favor of it.
Have you read it? Sorry, no, have you read it? Bob, you want to explain exactly what it's for? You would.
Yes, it's the resolution authorizing an application submitted by the town of Roann for a CDBG, which is a community development block grant. The community development block grant would be for the Stellar Park Improvement Project. As many know, the Wabash County was selected as a stellar pathway, and this was one of the projects in the stellar pathway, which would award the town of Roann $377,000, but in that the town would be using $477,944 of its own money, which is the money that was donated. None of this money is tax based. It's all donated money. And that would be going out to Okra, which is the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. And that's essentially what it is. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Did we get any updated numbers about the cost of taking out the one pavilion?
We did not.
And that's where my issue still is then of the $1.1 million park project. That's what I have the issue with.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Mhm.
Not as the town attorney, as either
Okay.
citizen or member of the park committee. So is there a deadline? Like, can we revamp this a little bit and come back to this? Not necessarily applying again, but is there a deadline? Does the board have to approve or reject this tonight?
No. There is yes, there is a deadline. No, it's not, the deadline's not tonight to make a decision. We'd like to have this decision made, contracts bid and everything out where they can dispense the money by November at the absolute latest. This project was slotted because of community engagement that was around it through Imagine 185 and be identified as a priority project, and then through the Stellar process, the feedback that was gathered and how far the project was, that it was slotted in this first slot as opposed to next year's slot, right? And so their Office of Community Rural Affairs is counting on 2 million of our total 4 million coming out in this first tranche, and the second 2 million coming out next year. But the Roann Parks project, just because of how much farther along it is, with the design release and everything else, was planned for this first tranche. So while there's no drop deadline on tonight, as you guys know, with the public process and bidding and everything else, we're getting closer and closer and closer to that fall of that money, contracts being executed, the bids being back, and the money coming here before that November deadline. Did that answer your question?
I believe so. So from the park committee perspective, we very much want to move this project along as quickly as we can. We very much like to break ground as soon as we can, because we have had this money that was donated for this purpose, and we don't want to give the impression that we're not doing anything with it. But also from my own personal perspective, I've been looking at this, I've been looking at the numbers, I've been trying to come to some resolution to make everything work. Obviously, I think the complication with the grant monies is that we had bids for a lot of the work to be done prior to ever applying for the grant. Those bids would no longer be good because of requirements that are associated with the grant that we talked about at the last public meeting that I asked about, and Mike and Martin so nicely explained to all of us. And so almost getting the grant simply pays for the increased cost of getting the grant, right? But again, it's a lot of money. It's hard to say, oh no, we don't want $377,000. Thank you very much. And so Neil had asked about taking out a pavilion, which I think is a good idea in terms of, can we make these numbers work? Can we take out a pavilion and then, allocate those funds to playground equipment? Because, it is concerning that, we'd spend $855,000 and still have no playground equipment. I mean, we intend to raise funds, but that's a concern that you'd spend that much money, still have no playground equipment. And by the way, kids, we tore down your old playground equipment in the process. So, it would be nice to maybe be able to allocate some of those funds to playground equipment. So maybe we could eliminate a pavilion. That's something we could do, at least on a temporary basis. It doesn't say in 5 years we can't build a pavilion, if that's a good reason. But we don't know what those numbers look like. I know Neil's also been concerned about money being set aside for maintenance, and that's a very valid concern. I've looked at that. I've talked with Adam Hall, who's the park superintendent in Wabash. He indicated to me he wouldn't be so worried about maintenance up front and right away, that really 5 years is very, very early to be looking at maintenance, and more likely 10 years. Not that maintenance isn't going to happen, but that we would have time to worry about maintenance or deal with maintenance issues. And I know there's a way, there's funds that can be set aside from interest from our bank account. There's, a park depreciation fund that could be set up. So there are ways to kind of look forward to that maintenance. And we do have to keep that in mind. I would really not like right now, just as me personally, to set aside some of these funds for that maintenance when it's so important that we get the construction done. But certainly we've got to be cognizant of that and aware of that and look forward to that. So I would like to not set aside funds right now for that, but certainly be aware of that. Maybe eliminate a pavilion, or definitely eliminate a pavilion, see what that would do with our numbers, and see if we can make these numbers make a little bit more sense than they do right now. But we're not there. We don't have those numbers. I don't know what that eliminating the pavilion would save us. But that's kind of my 2 cents after all of considering all of this.
I did talk to Martin after the meeting, and I threw out a number, and he said I was probably pretty close. By eliminating, when you're looking at that full number, you're looking at restrooms also. So restrooms are the lion's share of that part of the project. In fact, when we looked at restrooms probably a year ago, or even a year and a half ago, they were wanting almost $300,000 just for restrooms, and that was nothing attached. I threw out a number to Martin, and he told me that I was probably pretty close. And I said, if we eliminate the one pavilion, I would think it would probably save anywhere between 50 and 70,000. And he said that's probably pretty close.
The other thing, if I could say one more thing, I think as a committee and me as representative of the committee, this is a town board decision about this grant, and we respect that entirely. And we will move forward and endeavor to do our best, whatever the town decides. So if you decide, nope, we're not taking this grant, we're prepared to move forward with the money that we do have and to raise money and to work based on the quotes that we already had. If you say, yes, we're getting the grant, or we need more information, we'll work in that regard, whatever the board's pleasure is.
Well, my biggest issue, even with just taking out one pavilion, is so with the money from the grant and from what's been raised so far, putting us at around $850,000, we're still $250,000 away from that $1.1 million project goal. And making up $250,000 in fundraising, I know we talk about patronicity grants to cover half the cost. I'm really concerned about yes, maintenance is down the road, but the more we have to fundraise, like more money is going towards actually building the park, the farther down that gets, the less of a priority it is. So far, there really hasn't been any talks about a budget for this park. I would, if with the money that we have right now, if the park could be done, I think that would put us in a great position. With not setting any money aside, we're just in it for that. We're done. I know that would mean having to go back, redesign some things, but if we could just be done, yes, we now have a $800,000+ park that we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna maintain this in the future, but at least we're done. We're not raising money. Because the other thing with fundraisers is we are taking money away from other groups. And if we can just be all in on this and not worry about having to fundraise, because I've talked to some community members that are not excited about more fundraisers that are going to be happening. And I don't know how we're going to cover that $250,000. That's a large number for a town our size.
Well, here's what I'd like to say I personally, I'm not as the president of the board, but it's in my backyard is the park. Also being part of RCH, okay? Before we ever received our funding, we did raise quite a bit of money. Right now, we haven't started anything down there. The committee that I've seen has been working very hard to plan events and functions to raise that money. And you really need some action to take place. They need some dirt to be moved so people can see it is going in the right direction. The minute we started our project here in town, we didn't really know where it was going to go. And, first thing we did was took one section of it. We sold 12 lights. They saw the sidewalks. The next thing you know, they got excited about it. And bang, we went from 12 to 38 already in town. And it's very hard for a committee to get together and try to plan all their functions to raise, and people are going to give. Right now, I have seen some people, that has a substantial amount of money they want to give for a pavilion, and they may back out if action doesn't get taken. So are you willing to lose that $10,000 or $20,000? I mean,
Out of 1.1 million, yes.
yeah, but we can move with this project even without this. Right now, we can go ahead and move because the board has approved that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. We can start, whether we get this grant or not. But this grant would allow us a little more money
I don't deny that.
on the thing. But the longer we hold up, the harder it's going to get to raise this money for these people to make it happen. And I don't know if you've been raising money. For myself, I have someone that's donating 14 benches and more if we want them. But it's like, what do I tell them? It's like after a certain period of time, they don't see anything happening. They're just going to sit back and say, well, hey, business got sold, similar to the property over here. Now it's up for sale.
And there was nothing we could have done about that, though.
Well, it was going to be given to us for free.
And we were moving forward with that process.
But no, we backed off because they were afraid of contamination.
We never did anything to stop that process.
Yeah, well, they sold the company.
So we could have stopped them from selling their company?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the fact that they sold it. Now it's up for sale. And for anyone to have that, even though we're going to own the middle, either another organization has to buy that property and use it for what it was going to be used for. So now it's set and idle and they've got another buyer and who knows what's going to happen. But I personally feel that we should move forward, and the committee is working very hard on it, whether we have the grant or not have the grant. The money would be great to have the grant, but we've got to decide.
Well, and I've been saying for a while that I had some concerns about what this was going to cost. And then when we finally got the numbers, what was it, the week before the March 10th meeting about the updated numbers, and it was 1.1 million. I mean, I had no idea how much it could cost, but that was when we finally heard the number. So that just confirmed the concerns that I had about how expensive this project was gonna be. And, I mean, we can look at our funds right now. We don't have the like, we can't take on that kind of risk. I mean, once the park is there, it's also a liability to the town when it comes to maintaining it. And a $1.1 million park is going to cost more to maintain than an $800,000 park.
Question. Is that 1.1 million all three stages? The water
They're all
park
in
too?
stages.
No, it's just this first
This
phase
first phase.
That's first phase?
with the grant numbers.
Right. And I will let you know that Martin told me that he pushed all those numbers a lot higher. Those estimates were a lot higher than what he thought they would be because he wanted to make sure that we did not go over. And that was why he pushed those numbers so much higher.
Alex,
So by approving this ordinance, it's basically approving advertising the park at the 855, whatever the number is, right? And then to accept the $377,000. Those numbers may come back to Bob's credit less or more than what that number is, which we won't know until the project goes out to bid, which requires this step first for the project to go out to bid. I think there's an opportunity to bid the pavilion, other elements of the park project as alternates to that base bid, so that it's not a estimated how much do we save by doing 2 versus 3 pavilions. But if a third pavilion or whatever is chosen to be bid as an alternate, those numbers are isolated from the base bid of the project, like you guys do for any public projects at times, right? When you put something out to bid. So then the park committee, the town board ultimately to make a decision of 2 versus 3 pavilions, right? Based on what that isolated cost is to that number.
yeah.
And if it makes sense to say, no, as opposed to that third pavilion, we want to do the lighting that came back as an alternate and not maybe in the base side. I'm just picking 2 items, right? Ultimately, in my mind, it's just, is the town accepting the $377,000 to go towards the park or not, is what this resolution
Yeah,
says.
basically.
I guess, Alex, so are you saying we're not locked into picking this, and this to be done? We can do I mean, I know bids have to go out,
You
but
can
we
put
could
the-
do alternates.
But
in
you
there.
can, but that bid package that goes out can be structured,
Can be
right?
changed.
Can be changed. It just needs to be in the public minutes that this was passed for an $855,000 project out there, right? And Christina, to your point, it is more money into the project. We looked at when that pricing first came back with the BABA, Build America, Buy America, or whatever that is, and the increased Davis Bacon wages. And it is more money to the project, right? But again, it's close to where you're paying these increased costs they're on top of the bids that were already collected for the project because of these additional stipulations that come with the grant, right? But correct, it's how you structure what goes out for contractors to bid on. There can be the pavilion as an alternate or anything else that you guys choose.
Jeremy, you got anything?
We got a question back there.
So, question on possible, like, would this park generate any more revenue back as far as meals concerned? Like, is it gonna draw a lot more people into town, they're gonna shop, does it have concessions or anything so it could generate a little bit of money as well besides just this big worry is on maintenance? So would that kind of help offset it? Is that in play here, not in play? The other thing is, we have a little playground up there now. Is there maintenance put aside for that?
Is there?
Could that be something that's bolstered, to accommodate? I was just thinking, instead of just being a total liability, is there also an asset to it as well?
I think you could take, like the pavilions, I can see, where a family wants to do a reunion there, they book it. The town charges a flat fee to cover the cost of cleaning up afterwards, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, you could generate that down there and make it happen. I think if you have a nice area and it's done well, you will bring a lot more people and families into town. One of the benefactors that we have, if you had something like this, houses right now sell very quickly. I mean, one reason I was late, someone stopped and wanted to buy something. It's like, well, you never know. But it would just add to it and add to the assets of the town and the community and to help the communities to stay alive. I mean, I can see it being used a lot. And I don't have children here old enough to play on it or young enough. But yeah, I mean, you do have those worries about, who's going to watch. These are going to be hours, all of that. It's very hard to plan for something like that when you physically don't have it and know what it's actually going to cost. As a town and on the board right now, eventually, once it starts, yes, you will build a budget to support that entity. Some things the people's got to understand. One thing is, and I know, and I've heard this, we've got $1 million for a park, but we don't have $1 million for town. This is restricted. That money can set down there for 100,000 years and not be touched. It is restricted. They got to understand that that was given under restriction. So we've got a person there. If it's never going to be used, yeah, a check could be cut and sent right back to them. Thank you. We love you. That's the way it is. But I think that sometimes, yes, life is a risk anyway. The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. That's the whole verdict, but it boils down to.
But we have had chances to reconfigure what this might cost, and we have not taken advantage of that. And now we're looking at 1.1 million. We can't fix the roof for town hall. And you want to talk about where this is going to fit in the budget? How it's part of the town's funds that go to the maintaining it.
This is donated money.
I'm not talking about this money right now. I'm talking about when maintaining the park in the future. We don't have, this was given to us for free or close to,
Well, yeah.
and we can't, and here we are these years later and we can't maintain it. That's my
Well,
concern.
I don't know about the bill. Well, okay. But we can't.
But the more expensive it is, the more it's going to cost to maintain.
Okay. One of the things, and I mean, I've been on the board for, I don't know how many years right now. Yes, we have inherited a lot of expense from the past because it wasn't done correctly. We're trying to move forward on it. And again, I'm just going to say this. We're very fortunate to have a town clerk that can squeeze $100 out of a nickel. Okay? Yes, we may have to put all these other things in our priority list instead of just creating a list of this, and this that has been done for 30 years. So I think, and I hope we have, moved forward on trying to repair those things that we did not create ourselves as this board members, but staying on top of that. That's what we got to do.
And I
And
think
I understand that. And if we could sell this building, I'd sell it tomorrow and move into something smaller. But
On
and
that
there's
thought,
things
though-
here we can have rented space here in this building. Tell me.
So why can't we build the park with the money that we have and then build on it later as we raise money? Why can't we spend the $400,000 on the park as it's donated to it?
That's what we were
And then
talking
you
about.
Start out with the money that we got instead of going and getting $1.1 million when we only got 400,000.
But that's where my question is about the design of the park. For example, like how many bathroom stalls are there? You said the bathroom would be one of the most expensive parts of the pavilion.
I think there's 2 or 3 in each one.
And so how much cheaper would it be if there was just single unisex stalls like what they have at the all-inclusive park? How much money would that save us?
I have no idea.
So this is the kind of numbers that I would like to see of, so why was it decided to have that many stalls?
Because we thought that because of the baseball games and stuff like that, that they needed more area down in there.
Well, and it might be
And that
nice,
was-
but then it's more expensive.
Well, here's the thing of it is, usually, if you're gonna build something, you wanna build it a little bit bigger for the future, not necessarily that you have to add on later on.
Mhm.
That's gonna cost you a lot more money. And trying to be practical about doing that right now would be the easiest way to do it. I mean, make it a little bit larger. I mean, if you've got baseball games going on and you got pavilions down there going on in one stall, you might as well just put porta pots, you know?
Can I say something?
Yes.
We have baseball games down there right now. We only have the one stall. And we have hundreds of people that come into town, especially for opening day. So to have more restrooms, it would be more useful.
It would be.
Mhm.
It would be.
But then it also comes to the cost of it, how effective that's going to be for our time. Well, it might be nice, because there's a lot of things that would be nice with the park, but if we can't afford it, that's the problem. And at 1.1 million for a town of 400, so I talked to Adam Hall about the all-inclusive park. And when that went in, that was a stellar grant as well, I believe. You weren't here for that, but so they put in this really nice park, looked beautiful on opening day, and then as it's went along, they've had to cut back more and more and more of like the maintenance work they were doing around it, the landscaping. And now that we're 7 years down the road, they're starting to have to replace some of that equipment, and it's getting expensive. And that really wasn't like they have a budget they have to make or follow anyways. And now they have this $1.6 million park that went in, and it looks nice when it's done, but someone has to take care of it in the future. And just 5 years down the road, you start having problems. And that's just my concern of a $1.1 million park project.
And in all fairness, looking at that part, a lot of those problems have been with the ground surface.
Mhm.
And that was a lot with the manufacturer, and they have had a lot of problems with that. And I'm not saying there aren't other problems, but that's been a really big problem with that part that we would try to avoid, obviously. But you don't know.
Does that fall on, do they have more than one park there? Is that all in one fund? I mean, I'm not for
The
sure.
park board
The
oversees.
park board
So you have more than,
oversees
Yeah.
all of the parks
All
in
the
the
parks.
city of Wabash. And
we're
they
only
have
talking
one
about,
budget.
we're talking about one park here, basically, is what we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
It's not,
But that was one project they did.
well,
And that one there's 2 single stall bathrooms that they put in there. It's a nice park. Well,
And-
it was when it opened.
And we did say that because of the CDBG of having to do BABA, also Davis-Bacon, when it comes to maintenance on down the road, it won't include the BABA nor the Davis-Bacon.
Yeah.
So it would be no different than doing an $800,000 project. You're still doing maintenance for the same price as you're doing $1.1 million project. Would you agree with that?
I could see how, yeah.
Okay, so either way, it's going to be the same as far as the maintenance on down the road. Because later on, we're not going to do the BABA and we're not going to do the Davis-Bacon to upkeep. And I think that, and I brought this up last time, and I truly believe that if we start now and start putting money back and put it in a park depreciation fund, I think that when those things start to happen, the money will be there. And
We've
that's-
also had that happen with our budget where we hoped money would be there for certain things like the tractor and then had to replace a well. I mean, all kinds of things can come up.
Can I ask you another question, Alex? So we talked about being able to have alternates to these beds, alternatives. Would it affect this grant? Bob's gonna kill me for saying this. If at some point we said, okay, well, we want to redesign this a little bit. We want the pavilions to be a little bit smaller to save money. We want to eliminate a pavilion. If we could, would that affect us getting this grant and approving this resolution? I mean, as long as
No.
we're still doing a park project to,
As long as it's within, right, as long as the scope is a new park down there, right, with pavilions, with restroom and all those things. The only thing that, again, is the process, right? The more that, if we go back
Yeah.
down to state to change stuff or spend another 2 months in design and then another month and a half in estimating, it's just going to be that. But green light of the 377 versus not the 377 is not predicated on how big the pavilion is.
I would like to see a budget for this park, a total number. And I don't think that's a ridiculous ask. We have budgets for everything else. Because, I mean, it could come, why isn't there 4 pavilions? Why isn't there more and more? I mean,
You know what? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What budget mean? What do you mean budget wise? Outside of what you've seen budget wise?
yes, yeah, I think 1.1 million is too much. I mean, I would love to see what would a $900,000 park look like.
and part of that frankly depends on, are we doing it within the CDBG guidelines or are we doing it without the CDBG guidelines? Because those are two different numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
But your ongoing maintenance cost is the same.
Yeah.
You're still, right, there's still gonna be the question of if something goes wrong, or there's still gonna be the question of the roof on this building or other things that this funding can't be used for, nor can the donor fund.
I have a question or a statement. So if he's saying that we can reconstruct the entire thing and still get the money, why are we turning away $377,000 today if we can redo everything down the road before November comes? It doesn't make sense to me for us to say, no, we don't need your money right now, we'll figure it out. So it's just a matter of saying, okay, yes, we'll take the money, and then the board or the committee sits down together and works with the board to come up with something that is feasible for you to be able to say, okay, this makes more sense to us. I feel like it's just, we're coming down to the fact that, no, we're not gonna take this money because whatever reason you guys have behind it. The maintenance and all that stuff, that will work itself out down the road. We're just putting way too much into one day of just saying, yeah, no, thank you very much, Stellar, for offering us this money, right? And we're gonna use it to the best we can to create better living for your children, for
Absolutely.
my grandkids.
Mhm.
That's what it all comes down to.
Well, and for me, the only stipulation is that difference in $250,000 from just this phase 1 being completed. That's my concern, is that we still would have $250,000 and you can have a lot of excitement, you can have a lot of events planned. That's a lot of money still. So that's where I would like to see a number brought down from that 1.1 million. And I mean, just anywhere close to that $850,000. And
Can we get done or essentially done with 800?
Yes. I would just, we talk like, want to break ground. I want to see this park done. I'm not against a park in any way. My kids will utilize this park. This is a huge addition to the community. And when people have said, oh, like you're saying, we could use this money other places, this was seen as a need for our community. I don't doubt that at all. The issue is $250,000 away from even getting playground equipment. That's my concern. That's a lot of money.
And I can't speak for the entire board, but let's say yes to this grant and then give you the reassurance that you want to make sure that we stay within that $150,000 right now. But to turn away $377,000 because you have qualms with what's gonna happen 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I mean,
What were you
You
gonna say,
know?
Alex?
I was just gonna say, Neil, to answer your question of what you'd like to see adjust in the budget, right, based on the value and the numbers you threw out. the only way we get there is by bidding the project out to see those numbers come back. You're still gonna vote on any construction contract to be executed, right? And so in order, after the CDBG resolution's approved, that means that then the town board's good to put the project out to bid.
Mhm.
And there has to be conversations with Martin, with Mike, to make sure that those bid packages go out, or the bid goes out in the way that can isolate the costs that you're interested in, potential cost-saving items. So then when it comes back and those real construction numbers come back, you can say, okay, here's money that we know we can save from our local funds that can go to playground equipment or picnic tables or more benches or whatever it is. And we're gonna take the base bid without the additional pavilion, right? If that's where we pick up the savings to cover those other areas, so keep the project costs down. I don't think you get those real cost numbers and know what those numbers are until the project goes out to
Right.
bid. And until that project can't go out to bid until this resolution is approved.
And I agree with that. My concern is, what if we come back and it's even on a higher end and we're farther away from these kids getting playground equipment?
You don't execute the contract.
Okay.
And we go to Okra and we beg and say,
Mhm.
can you shift our 377 that we were planning to
Mhm.
turn in November into next year's round if it would kick us out that far?
I want to see us closer to the end goal with this money. That's all I care about, is that we have less room to make up with these fundraisers. I mean, I don't know how successful the RCH fundraisers have been, but $250,000 is a lot.
And Okra does not want any burden to be placed on the community if it comes back over budget or over what the bids are. And if we have a lot more cover with them to reject bids and say we're going back into design to come back to that 377 for you, as opposed to us voting down you guys voting down the resolution now and then trying to explain to Okra,
Mhm.
hey, the 377, we didn't want to take it, right?
And one more comment, sorry. And I don't see fundraising as not a good thing, because we're bringing people into our community to spend their money, not just on fundraising, but in the antique shop, in the pizza shop, in the ice cream place. And we've got still, we can use that, generate that to bring more people into our community. And as they see the groundbreaking around, I don't know how far we've pushed this out. I mean, I wouldn't even think about the numbers, but it's like, we're sitting here and there's nothing been done over there.
Mhm.
And it's already been approved. So we're just like pushing it back further and further and further to the point where your children, my grandkids, they're not gonna get to utilize it.
But that's where, when it comes to how much of a burden we're putting on the town to maintain it, I can't say, well, my kids don't get to play with it, so I'm going to vote yes for this. Like, I have to think about the taxpayers that are going to be maintaining this park in the future and what's best for the whole community, not just my kids right now. But I know we have a lot of the park committee in here right now. When it comes to bringing a budget down, I mean, is the park committee okay with some redesigns for this? Like, where's everyone sitting at with the park in terms of making this financially feasible?
I don't think anybody's against looking at reducing it.
I'm not,
None of them are at, I mean, I know one thing, like, even with the pavilions, you really can't go to any large corporation that has foundations. It's like, we want to put our name on it, but there's nothing there. It's hard to do that.
I'm not against reductions at
We
all.
could reduce it down. It's just to get everybody together and say, hey, okay, this is what we got to do to start with.
Yeah.
That's what we got to do.
The worst thing that I can see is going back to paper again and then going back to state. This could delay us another year, 6 months, 9 months, a year, just going back to paper and going back to the state.
But if it saves us $200,000, isn't that worth it?
And if we go back and have to redo all that, is there an expense to that?
What was it, like $20,000? So if it saves us $200,000, I think that's a huge win.
Heck with you. Come on.
What do you mean? How's it not? 20,000 versus 200?
You came in last fall into our committee meeting.
Yeah.
And put a halt to everything. You blocked everything.
What did I
We
stop?
was ready to roll, and you put us down last fall, so now we're to this summer, and you're still knocking everything down. I don't see anybody else arguing, but you.
I've had people in the community come up to me that raise these concerns to me. This isn't just me. And it's a $1.1 million project. That's a concern. It's a big decision for the community.
Okay, big decision for the community. This has got nothing to do with the park at the moment. But as a board, I've watched you guys, I've been here in enough meetings to see you take things that you need for the town, and you don't get 2 bids on it, you get 1. It's time the board starts doing what they need to do and get 2 bids on everything that you're bringing up. That you need a new tractor, get 2 bids on it. You need it repaired, get 2 bids on it. No, you get 1.
Okay. Tony,
You're
can you make
playing
sure
both games.
Tony, can you make sure you get 2 bids from now on?
I've got 5 bids for tractors.
Thank you, Tony.
I try to get 2 bids on everything, but if I can't get people a bid, I can get people a bid. That doesn't stop the fact that things.
How much have you raised in the fundraising you've done so far?
The only fundraising we've done was the little 4th of July thing that we put together, and then the little booth at the festival. We haven't done any major fundraising,
What did you raise from those 2 little things?
maybe $500 altogether.
But you keep saying, excuse me, you keep saying 1.1 million, but yet we're saying we can, you council can have a final say. We're willing to downsize or to whatever we said we would do. I don't know that it's going to be 1.1 million, but if we can keep it in that guideline of the 877,000, and we have to cut the pavilion off, fine.
Great. I haven't heard that yet, so I appreciate that.
I think 1 pavilion, but I definitely don't think you want to cut down the bathroom to 1 stall because
For the porta potties in.
it's just, you got 100 people. We was told,
Yeah.
Sean Tay said, they have 100 people there in the summer at those ball games. There's not
But
enough.
I don't know the cost of the bathrooms. If it's the difference between 100,000 and
That comes with the
40,000,
bids. That's what Alex was saying. The bids come in. You guys have the
but
approval.
it's bids of the same bathroom size though. That's my concern, is that if everyone's bidding for, and that's the part where I would just like to see some other numbers, and I haven't seen that.
Get the bids in and then you guys can go from there, is what I'm thinking.
So we're bidding on, but I don't think we can take bids for different designs of bathrooms
I can't,
because it has to be based off of the drawing from
It's
what
gonna be
it's-
based on the specs.
okay.
And that's the part that the specs, I don't see how the specs wouldn't be changed to get it down to closer to $900,000.
This town has a bathroom problem to begin with. I wouldn't play with the bathrooms. People have been advocating to get bathrooms in town, and the amount of people that would generate at that ballpark.
But we also
I agree
built,
if there's other things, but I really wouldn't tweak the bathrooms too much, because it is a need. Especially you got people, like you said, you got multiple games up there, multiple people up there. Cut a pavilion down, something like that, tweak something else, but I wouldn't play too much.
but when you look at,
Not one unisex bathroom, that's ridiculous.
but when you look at the bathrooms at like the all-inclusive playground versus Field of Dreams, the Field of Dreams ones are always disgusting because it's a very big bathroom. And so that's going to be harder to maintain for our town. And LeGros, they put in the single stalls, I believe, as well. It's just easier for a smaller community to maintain. Yes, more bathrooms would be nice, but it's just, like you said, it's that much more expensive and that harder to maintain. And if something goes wrong, that's where the big expenses are. So now there's how many toilets that we have to replace. That's the part that I would just like to be looking more into, is how we can save money in the long run.
So are you wanting to do like the bathrooms that's at the pool field, how there's a toilet and a sink, and that's it for over there?
Potentially, it would depend on the cost.
Because I don't know how many people was at the pool, but I know that line was so long that there were people peeing in the sideline bushes the whole 3-4 days that everybody was down there.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids couldn't hold it. The elderly were standing that were watching that, so it was sad to see that, and there was no place else to go.
Well, that's where we would
League's
probably
not coming back.
benefit from bringing in supporta pots for an event like that.
I would like, if I could, just to address Steve's question or point about how much fundraising has been done so far. Not, I think it's important to bring up how rare it is for a public project like this that has zero public money that goes into the construction of it. And that's not to be taken for granted of, not the work that's been done by a lot of you in fundraising already from yes, as people know, a big donor source, but that's because of the confidence that this group instilled with that donor. Not to mention the fund we can call fundraising to get the $377,000 from the entrepreneurial fairs, which was a part of a bigger, a lot more projects that went into that. But that took a lot. That has taken a lot of work from a lot of people. That it's not just $500 from a couple events that have been thrown recently for the park. I would say that the 470,000 roughly that's
Was
been
fundraising.
collected in private donations, in addition to the $377,000, none of that's been on the local taxpayers'
Mhm.
back, right? And so while maintenance, Neil, like you and I have talked, while maintenance and all those things are important, I think that Bob and you guys can work to plan for that moving forward, because there's not debt, taking a loan out to construct the park like places do, which is on the taxpayer's back, or a bunch of cash on the beginning from it, right? So I would just say that the whole project to this point has been fundraised money to support.
Well, I do have a question.
Yeah.
I know our water and sewage guys, they have a long list of things that are needs.
Yeah.
Not wants. If we're gonna fundraise money for the park, which I'm 100% for too, my daughter loves it up there and I do too, I don't there a lot. If we don't raise enough money to back that money up, then the town's going to give up money to finish it? So if we spend that $300,000, do we have to match the money first before we spend it, or do we get the money and then we have to, how does that work?
You're saying that the $377,000 in grant money have to be spent after our local money's been spent?
No, do we need to raise the money before we get the money?
No.
We have the money right now for the
support.
$850,000 there.
And can we spend it right now, or do we have to raise the money before we can spend that money from this grant?
We can spend it as soon as we pass the
Yeah.
ordinance and goes out to bid and the
Okay.
contract's signed.
But if we spend it, then we have to raise up that other bit of money, right?
You have the other bit of money.
Well, for the rest of the project, the
To finish
1.1
it?
million,
Yeah, we'd
yes.
have
Oh,
to
yeah.
raise it to finish it.
Yes, that's the $250,000 that I,
That's what I'm talking about, so we will have to raise that ourselves.
yes.
But that's outside of but that has not contingent on this.
What I'm saying is this, Alex, if we have to raise that other part to finish this, and we do fundraising, let's say we fall short, where does that money come from, the town?
We just wouldn't get playground equipment.
We will get playground equipment for a park.
Right.
Why we have water and sewage guys who have a long list, that's very long of needs for the town.
But so Steve, those needs, I completely believe that those needs are there. I'm not discounting the needs that are there, but neither the raised money nor the grant money could be used to.
I'm not saying that.
He's talking about potentially the town being liable for then like the rest of the money for the park. But I think realistically, if we did not raise the money to get the playground equipment, we just would not get playground equipment. Which we're looking at, I mean, based off of this estimate, the playground equipment was $172,000. So if we don't get, and if we're able to get $50,000 to match that, we only have 120,000, maybe we only have 100,000 that we have to raise.
Neil, to clarify, the additional 250, right?
Yeah.
All of those additional items we pulled out of the base project were bid as if they were going through the increased cost that the grant requires.
Yeah.
So by pulling those numbers out, they are 100% going to be less than what Martin Van budgeted there, because he not only did what the grant requires of the increases for materials and labor, but also his contingencies are tacked onto those items that are now pulled out of the Okra process. By handling those locally and in fundraising for them, they're outside of what's included in the grant project. Okra will never know about what's coming in thereafter, right? They're only concerned what we're including in that base project.
So,
And playground equipment will not come under the BA,
Yeah.
nor will it come under the Davis-Bacon, because you can't do that with playground equipment, because then it takes away the community bill. And so the numbers that we had at the beginning would be the numbers that we've got for the playground equipment, which is right at 100,000.
well, the preliminary clause you have at 137,000.
Okay, so we have the the grant, that would be the 50,000, and we would get 50,000, there's 100,000, and then we would only need another 30,000 on top of
So
the
you-
grant.
You would need to raise 87,000 total. One other question I had, so for fencing, you have a $21,000. Is that a requirement to have the fencing?
No,
Because I know that Adam Hall, they didn't do that at the city park.
it's not. It's there as,
It's safety.
yeah, I put it in as safety, but I mean, if it doesn't go in, that's not, it's not a deal breaker.
Well, because when I talked to Adam, he said that was just a cost that when it came to their old park, that it just wasn't worth it and they just took it down and
And-
were done with it.
And yeah, that's neither a deal breaker here nor there.
Also, we need to keep in mind that Bob has got some what is that grant? Patronicity,
Patronicity.
and he can get, I believe, them as needed. So we have options to fundraise. We have options for grants that's gonna help us complete the park equipment, complete the whatever. So just because 3 or 4 people said they wouldn't donate any money, there's a lot of other people out there in surrounding community plus the town that is willing to donate.
And we can do numerous patronicity grants.
Only one for the playground equipment. You only could do one for that.
No, if we had, let's say we had 100,000. Let's say we had 100,000 for for a set of playground equipment. So then we do the 50-50,
Mhm.
then it's installed. Now they decide they would like to have maybe a little bit more playground equipment or something like that. Then we take that price and we do another, but it has to be installed before I can do another patronicity. And I can just do them one right after another and do as many as I need to do.
And Bob would.
And those are all that I can write myself.
I would like to say something. You know, I'm not good at this. But when I believe in something, I want to stand for it. I want a voice, to hear my voice. First of all, thank you for letting me stand up here and speak. I appreciate all of you and what you do for the town. Do it. It's hard work. Addressing the concerns that you say you have made a point to mention that your children have played at our current park for years. Not to sound less grateful for what we do have now, but to raise the bar even higher for an even better, more equipped, better built park that will be sustainable through the years. An exclusive park built to meet all needs for all children and their families, not just for a few. Children of limited abilities should also experience the joy of a park in the town where they live. These children can be included also. Now, we have been given donations from good-hearted people who have considered the community of Roann worth their money in the building of such a park. To add to that, we have been offered the great gift of $377,000 for the Stellar Pathway, which will make it possible to pay for groundwork, buildings, parking lot, concrete, and fencing. We plan to create a way and means through donations for playground equipment, picnic tables, and benches. This being the subject of the money now, my question is, why do you want to deny us this great gift? To keep us from being
that are able to build such a great park. To stop the flow of funds coming in for all the children and their families? Why do you consider this of less importance than money by the way of a grant for, say, a brand new truck with a snowplow, or a new Marshall car paid for by grant money and local taxpayers' money? This was provided for with no mention of concerns for the upkeep and maintenance of these items. Why do you want to stop us from being given money to do what we could do? Now, to address the issue of providing money to maintain the park, which is another matter separately. Apart from what we are focusing on now, it is a rule that no money from what is given in good faith from donors of this park and from the Stellar Pathway be taken to be used for any other reason. But make no mistake, as a community of this park, we are responsible and mindful to also bring up a plan to be put into place for a Parks and Recreation Fund for the maintenance of Roann's Park. And might I say, this is a benefit to all, even the baseball park. A well-maintained park will not only provide a safe and enjoyable space for our children, but also serve as a gathering place for families and friends, fostering a sense of community and togetherness. It will be a place where memories are made, where children can play and grow, and where families can come together to celebrate and support one another. Investing in this park is investing in the future of our community, ensuring that Roann remains a vibrant and welcoming place for all its residents. Moreover, the long-term benefits for the community are immense. A beautiful and inclusive park will attract more families to settle in Roann, boosting the local economy and creating a thriving community. It will also promote physical activity and outdoor play, contributing to the health and well-being of our residents. The park will become a symbol of our town's commitment to inclusivity and progress, making Roann a model for our communities to follow. Additionally, the economic benefits of this park are significant. The construction and maintenance of the park will create jobs and stimulate local businesses. Increased foot traffic in the area will benefit nearby shops, restaurants, and services, leading to the economic growth and prosperity. The park will also enhance property values in the surrounding area, making Roann an attractive place to live and invest in. By investing in this park, we are investing in the economic future of our community, ensuring long-term prosperity and success for all residents. Thank you.
Thank you, well said. I think you wrapped it all up in a big bundle there. And I think to answer some of the questions like Steve had, raising money is going to be raised by the committee, not by the town, basically. That's what the park committee would do, and other ones would help. So please understand that. But I do think that I would like to ask the board that we go ahead and approve this grant and then move forward from that.
I'm only willing to approve if we are setting a limit on this budget, because I'm not willing to approve a $1.1 million park.
I don't know where the 1.1 million.
Well, it's from the numbers that he sent. So
Yeah,
that's all I can go off of.
Did you not listen to what they said? We can cut things out. We can't guarantee that. The longer you wait, the cost is going to go up no matter what. But what I'm saying is, let's approve this and then build it from there. We can't just put in writing, it's going to be guaranteed at 1.1 million and 25 cents, period. Dick.
We're
Sunoco for 48 years, and when they built on the back of the plant, they got an estimate for $20,000. They thought that was too much, so they waited 4 years. And how much do you think it cost them?
$80,000. There
$80,000.
you go. So, I mean, really, honestly, that's the way it is. I mean, I understand what you're talking about, but we've got to move forward. I mean, we can argue this $1.1 million all night long. It's not going to do us any good. We need to approve this. That's the way I feel. And move on. And then go from there. Yes.
I don't disagree with the park either, but I was just wondering about some of Neil's concerns about if we did do this, would we be able to budget for another person?
What?
Be able to budget for another person? Because
Don't we, I'm not part of the budget.
no, right. I'm just asking you
Take my
guys.
place, sure.
No, for another maintenance guy, because if we're going to do
You
the
know,
park,
that is true. You're
we're gonna
right.
need another maintenance person because they can't handle it all. That's part of our problem, right? So I was wondering, is that gonna be in the budget?
I think you're looking too far out. Because first of all, we don't know what it's gonna take. First of all, we haven't even said it would fall under their responsibility, basically.
On town property?
Okay, here's what I'm saying. We hire a part-time person right now to mow. You're gonna hire a part-time person to take care of anything as far as cleanup and stuff like that. Maintenance, probably yes. If it requires another person, as we build it, then the town can build it into their budget, basically. I mean, you cannot say, hey, we need this person, when there's really nothing there to see what's happening or what takes place.
I
Yes.
just want to say, put myself out there. I have my own cleaning business,
Mhm.
and I would be happy to, for the time that I'm around, to go down there and maintain that property as far as cleaning the bathrooms, doing all that stuff. A very minimal fee. I have my own LLC. I'm bonded. I'm insured, and I would be happy to use my time to make sure that that gets done, if that is the major problem right now. In foreseeable future, obviously, down the road, that could be revamped, but for right now, if that's the one thing that's causing the board to be able to not approve this $377,000, I would put my time out there, my own business, to make sure that that's taken care of.
My biggest concern though is just the money that'll be raised to need the playground equipment that's going down there.
So again, I'm back to, I don't have a position one way or another whether the town adopts the resolution or the ordinance to approve the grant or not. Either way, the committee's going to move forward with whatever money's available to us. But I can say I'm committed to looking at the specs, looking at these numbers, and trying to get a park built within the money we have or within the feasible amount. But again, we're not gonna know specifics.
Until it's out there.
That's, I would just like to see some conservative estimates because the 1.1 million it's alarming to me. And I know it's going to be expensive no matter what. I mean, I don't deny that. I know we're not going to put up a park for $100,000. I just
Not gonna get groundwork for
No.
$100,000.
and I mean, and the groundwork. I mean, the parking lot, like you're talking about, making it more accessible. A lot of work. It's going to be very expensive just to make that happen.
Right.
I'm only alarmed that maybe this project has gotten too big and just needs to be brought in a little bit. Not saying no to the park, just brought in, tightened around the waist a little bit so that the town isn't bringing on quite as much risk.
Did we not say that we would?
That's what we're
if-
actually talking.
This meeting it has been, yes.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I mean, we can't.
But then when we talk about that we might have to go back on specs, then I'm met with, well, there's no way that we can do that, even if it saves us, even if it costs us 20 and saves us $200,000. I just want to make sure that we're if it
I
comes
mean, I
to
believe
it,
we can do it. It's a delay, but we can do it.
I also think there's a whole lot of people that we have talked to and worked with and that are excited about the park. We have one particular that I talked to a couple days ago that's just moving in to town, bought a home, has a little 3-year-old, I believe, and they're excited about this park. It's a big deal. And I understand that you're looking at the 1.1 million and we're looking at the 877,000 with patrioticity and other grants. And this committee is going to work their tail off. We already know we are screwed for time alone by ourselves. And I just feel like you need to have faith in the committee and faith in your citizens that are really supporting the park. Step out a little bit of faith and trust us to be able to get this going forward.
Yep. Chairman?
I never said I would say no to that. I just was asking a question, is what I was doing. I wanted to know what we were gonna do about that.
It was a good question.
Also, never mind, I probably won't answer these in front of everybody, but I have certain questions.
It's okay.
I'm afraid to answer them in front of, or ask them
Okay.
in front of other questions, they might think they're stupid.
Okay, I'm
There are
gonna-
no stupid questions.
No stupid
Yeah,
questions.
you say that until I say it.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion about approving this resolution. So, Jeremy?
he seconded it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I did.
All in favor?
We want a roll call.
Roll call. Jeremy?
Yeah,
Myself, yes.
Yay.
Okay, it's passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward.
That makes everybody better. That's good though.
Yeah.
It's good to not understand stuff.
What's-
Look,
What
everybody
time does it borrow?
boring.
What's next?
Christina?
That's a good discussion.
Yeah, we'll get it later.
What are we doing?
Now what's next?
Chris, you're actually next about the part that we're trying to,
Moved from the agenda to the
yeah.
park numbers.
You want,
Nope, I got it. So the committee met, last Monday, and we really, you may be surprised to know, didn't talk about any of this. So we talked about moving forward with fundraising. We are excited to announce that we have planned a fundraiser for July 5th, the Saturday of July 4th weekend. In between Pancakes on the Bridge and the fireworks, to have something going on in town in between those two events and try to capture people who are here for the holiday. We are hoping to close down Chippewa Street for the 1 block and have bands, maybe a battle of the bands type thing going on, to have food, kind of a picnic type food, and raise money in that regard. We don't, we're working on details on that, but that will be our first big fundraiser. And I looked at, I've been looking at a lot of what LeGros does. They've got a cattleman's dinner planned for part of their fundraiser. And so we were kind of looking at that model. We've all been assigned various projects to do, and we're meeting again May 8th, May sometime.
I think so.
And reporting back to get that underway. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
And I guess, is that okay with the board?
oh, are you asking us to close the street?
For the street.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I'm asking that specifically right now, but does that plan sound okay? Is the board okay with that? And yes, at some point we'll have to ask you to be able to close the street.
I think it's great. I think it's good to have activities all day long that day because you got from the pancake and there's nothing and then people come back. So Yeah.
So is this going to start the fundraising for park equipment?
Yes.
Yes,
So you're gonna be able to advertise that the money that's raised from this point on is not going towards any of the groundwork, anything like that. This is all towards,
Well, and I suppose that depends a little bit on how we tweak the budget
Yes.
for the money that we do have.
Yep.
and
But
I'll
it
be
would be our
getting,
goal to make this for park equipment. Because I think even with tweaking
Mhm.
that budget, I think we're still going to need some money to come to park equipment. So,
and I will be getting a hold of them about setting up so that we will be doing the grant. So,
the patronicity grant?
yeah, the patronicity.
Does that have to wait until anything happens down there?
No.
No, you're able to start that right now?
Yeah, because I've got 360, I think 365 days to complete the project.
Mhm.
But the project does have to be completed in 365.
Does that have playground equipment that's picked out?
No.
no, we need to finalize those. But again, I think we've got to go back to the drawing board
Mhm.
Yep,
because I want to look at all of these numbers.
right.
So, and it doesn't have specific ground covering picked out yet, so we've got to get that done, because again, I don't want to say, I think we can safely say that this fundraiser is for park equipment. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the report on the park.
Thanks, Christina. Lucky you, you're on next for the pole track.
I still have not done anything with the pull track. Keep it on there and I'll get to it.
Okay.
Except you make me do a lot of work on this park.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Tony, generator?
I've only got one quote so far. I've got two other companies that's supposed to be quoting it.
Okay.
The one quote is from the company that does our, every 6 month maintenance on it now. What they're recommending is actually two generators, one down at the sewer plant that runs the sewer plant and the pole barns, and then having a second one to run both wells. I talked to them and they said that the wiring going up to the wells is not sufficient. And they recommend putting a second generator in, would be cheaper than running new wires all the way back to the big generator. The quote that I got right now is $126,500.
That's,
Plus freight. I don't have the freight cost on there.
that's for both.
That's for both
What sizes
generators,
are?
that's installation, that's, basically, yeah, they have to revamp where the existing generator is sitting now, they have to revamp that, make the concrete pad bigger. It's gonna have a different fuel tank in it to fit their design that they have.
Do you know what the sizes of the generators are?
The one that we have currently is the 300,000 kW, but it's plenty big enough to do everything we need to do, but the wiring connecting to the wells is not. And they said that it would be cheaper to put a second generator in than it would be to put new wiring in.
Okay.
Because of the distance, because the wire has to go from this to this size because of that runs. So they recommend putting a smaller generator up where the wells are. But I'm looking into seeing if we can come up with some better plan. I like having one generator, one transfer switch, everything contained inside the fence, because this generator would be sitting up here. And as far as I'm concerned, we need a fence around it, up by the wells.
So this new generator is gonna be the same size as the old one?
No.
Or-
The new generator, by them splitting it up, the one at the sewer plant would be 121 kW, which is about half the size of what we got, but the one we have is overkill anyways. It was just, Bruce found this one, it's gonna do what we needed to do and stuff, so they went ahead and bought it. We don't need something that big. But, so the sewer plant would downsize, but then we would have a smaller one of, I think it's a 60 kW, would be up there running both wells. So,
Could I ask that number again, the one that you gave it?
right now, I've got, it's a total is 126,500.
500, and that's for both of them.
That's for two generators and installation.
Did you get any kind of I'm sorry, may I?
Yes, you may.
I apologize. Did you get any kind of number for a single? Like if you
No,
were gonna get
this-
one?
They just sent this to me Friday.
Okay,
So I reached out to a couple other companies and stuff, Caps being one of them. They were gonna reach out and to their vendor because they do not have generators. They can maintenance them, but they do not sell generators, so they're gonna have a guy get with me sometime and give me a second quote on the generator. And then I reached out to another company here in Indiana to see about getting a quote from them too.
And what was that name of that company?
I should have wrote it down. I'll text it to you because it's up by South Bend.
I was only asking because I deal with Everpar out of Fort Wayne. So I didn't know if you tried them or not.
I talked to Everpar. I've done some classes when I was in my apprenticeship program at Everpar. The only thing that I did not reach out to them about is because Houston, the company that does our maintenance now, is very much against Everpar.
Oh.
So I was just going off of their recommendations of not doing it. Now, I know that there's their competition.
Yeah.
But the service guy was the one that was talking to me about Everpar.
Okay.
And that's the only thing, the reason I didn't reach out to him, was because he was very adamant that he would not recommend.
Well, I can give
Everpar.
you a number to reach out to them if you don't mind.
I got the guy's number.
Okay.
Yeah, from when I've done the classes and stuff up in Fort Wayne.
Well, they gave me an estimate for a generator for 80 grand, and it's enough to do about 150 residents. So that's a pretty big generator for that price. So I just was saying maybe look into it. I mean,
Yeah, that's fine, I can, I didn't do it because of going off their
right,
recommendations.
right. I get it.
So,
I get it.
but I did reach out to Caps, and then I think the place was in South Bend, Mishawaka. There was a local company that I found Googling, and they had high remarks and stuff, so
Okay.
I can't remember what it's called.
So you're still waiting to hear back about other bids, and you're also gonna look into what it would be like to just have the one?
Yes.
Okay.
may I ask an additional question, please?
Sure.
If I heard you say that you would prefer one, if you get a bid on that, could we also, so that I know how much additional the money it's gonna take of the additional wiring? Because
Yeah.
did you not say that it's gonna require some additional wiring?
This Houston Electric recommended that we either upsize the wire or put a second generator in.
Okay,
They said put the second generator in would be more cost effective than upsizing the wire.
okay,
Because
Okay.
right now, the way the system is set up, if the electricity goes out, the generator kicks on, it'll run one well.
okay,
My state inspector says if we're gonna update the generator, it
Sure.
needs to run both wells.
Right. Okay.
Just for future whatever.
all right,
And the reason why he's saying that is because you're gonna go down a generator smaller. So you have smaller wire, and then you're gonna go to the other generator to do the other one. That's why he's.
well, the reason that I know, yeah, I understand all that. I just want to make sure that when I'm looking at all of the numbers and trying to figure out where the money's coming from every place, that I don't plan for a generator and then all of a sudden I didn't plan for wiring. And now I've got another $40,000 sitting on top of it that I need to try to magically make appear. So that was why I asked that question. Not that it makes any difference to me. I don't care.
Right.
The only thing I care about is the final cost.
Just like I said with this though, this is not include freight.
Sure.
I don't have any idea what it costs for a truck to bring these generators in and stuff, but that cost was everything else.
Understood.
So I didn't get a chance to get back with them to give me a number on freight cost.
Freight, I'm not as worried about as I am about wiring.
But
So,
it's still could be a couple $1,000s, so.
okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. But you're on next.
You sure you want it?
Bring it on.
Water tower. We had there's a single 8-inch standpipe goes up the center of the water tower that comes from the wells, feeds the water tower, that comes in and out the same pipe. 3 years ago, we had 30 foot of it replaced. There's another section that's in the ground underneath the water tower that is leaking.
And that's what they said last, I mean, they mentioned that there'd be another section that we need replaced.
Yes. I asked the guy, Tony, that does most of our digging and boring in town and stuff, I said, worst case scenario, what's it gonna take to dig this up and replace it? He said 15,000. Now, I know with our new vac trailer and stuff, that we can take the concrete out and we can get down to the pipe. So that's what I said when I sent you guys the email. I don't know what this is gonna cost. It may be as much as us tearing the concrete out, getting down to the pipe, putting $1,000 repair clamp on it, and the state may be okay with it. But I'm not guaranteeing any of that. I don't, because it's basically about a 20-foot section of pipe, but unfortunately, it's under the water tower. It's about 5 foot in the ground. So we have to get down to it, find out where it's leaking at. The reason I say it's our pipe leaking and not groundwater is because I've tested it, and it's got chlorine in the water, which means it's treated water. So it's, the state inspector highly recommended that we get it fixed. Just like we replaced the last 30 feet from the state inspector report, because we did have a repair clamp on it. And we paid, I think Bruce paid almost $2,000 for this 30-inch repair clamp to put on this pipe. When the inspector seen it, he goes, no. He said, you're gonna get the pipe fixed.
Yeah.
So we still got a 30-inch repair clamp down there that we may be able to use somewhere else, but. So this pipe is, and like I said, it could be a small pinhole, because it's just, there's a pit inside the water tower that we have to pump out. And it's treated water, it's got chlorine in it. So I gotta bust through the concrete, I gotta dig down about 5 feet inside the water tower and see what it's gonna consist of.
So we'll do that job
I'm
ourselves.
gonna
right?
try
Okay.
to do most of it myself, yes.
Okay,
And then Tony will come in to see what you're gonna have to do if we have to remove the pipe. If I can talk to the inspector and get by with a repair clamp, then I may not need Tony at all, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. But I will do as much as I can myself.
okay.
So the 15,000 is a worst case scenario.
That's what, that, I told Tony, I said, just give me a worst case scenario, what he thought, and that's what he said.
So for you to even work on this, we need to make a motion to approve up to the 15,000, because once you dig in there, you're saying that you'd have to do it at that point.
If I dig in there and stuff, it's just gonna be time.
Yeah.
But
But once you identify what the problem is, then you're saying.
and I can bring that back to you guys after I get it dug up and stuff,
Okay.
if you guys wanna wait on that.
Or you said something about only maybe a couple thousand.
Yeah.
Right?
It just depends.
Right.
If the state inspector didn't allow me to use the repair clamp on the vertical pipe, I don't know if he's gonna allow me to use the repair clamp
Mhm.
on the pipe that's in the ground. I can ask him that and stuff, if I can get by, because I mean, it's not, I would say in the last, well, over the winter, everything froze up and stuff, so I don't know for sure how much water come in there, but I would guesstimate that there was probably 100 gallon of water in this pit. So it's not a massive leak, it's a small leak, you can watch it trickle in. So it could be, I believe, could be fixed with a repair clamp, if the state will let us do it.
Right. So what do you think about just saying approving a couple thousand or so?
Well, do we even need to approve anything right now, or
I don't
you
think you need to.
you can just start
right
digging?
now,
We just gotta dig
other
and find out what it's gonna be.
This list, guys, is stuff that I wanna do, and I want you guys to know about it and stuff. Whether or not I do it, it's up to you guys. But this is stuff that the state has told me that I'm going to do, that I'm supposed to maintain the infrastructure in this town.
I was just thinking not letting you wait for another month. If you work on it, say tomorrow, now we gotta wait another month to approve.
I wouldn't hold your breath on me starting on it tomorrow.
Well, I was just thinking,
As soon as the gas gets out of town, I'll have more time.
Yeah, you know, I see all that water coming out of that pipe behind my house, and you know, that drain's plugged up. I do have flood insurance.
But-
Start digging
Let me
something.
dig down to it.
Start that.
Just start digging.
Let me dig down to it and I'll give you guys a more concrete number on what it's gonna take to get it fixed.
Okay.
So I'll get back with you on that.
And Tony, also, you know, I know you sent us all a list of things that you need.
Yep.
Can you put those in priority of what you think you want, if you would for us? It's been kind of a little lengthy meeting here tonight. I mean, unless everyone's, would you do that for us,
I
please?
will try my best.
And then that way we can review it and try to do it, get it out, get them all out of the way as much as we can.
Well, this is one of them that I think is a priority, because
Yes.
if it quits again, then it's gonna be a lot more work for us to maintain down there.
Yep.
Down there at the sewer plant, we've got a tank, it's got an arm, travels around all the time. It's wiping the scum off the top of the pond, off the top of the thing. I got two different guys to give me a quote. One company that we had a gearbox replaced here a few years ago, they come in and quoted us $10,000. Basically, to take this arm off, cut a couple pieces of steel off, put 4 new U-bolts on, put it back on. Larry Rensberg, our local guy here in town, I called him about it and stuff, and he said he could do it for 2. So,
I do it for 2.
Is there any liability that we're worried about there? Is it?
100%, like I told Larry, because he asked me about that, he doesn't have any liability insurance. As far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna be right there with him the whole time. So if there's any liability, it's gonna fall on the town anyways.
As long as I get an invoice. I just want an invoice.
He printed off a copy of the quote down there and stuff, and he signed it and all that. I just didn't bring it with me.
Okay.
That's all I care about at the end,
Okay.
that I get an invoice from him with a place where I can send the check.
Yep.
That's all I care about.
Make a motion to approve the 2,000 for that. So what it was, right, Tony?
Yes.
For the arm down there? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Steve?
He's still
Oh,
going.
I'm sorry.
Don't rush away.
Sorry.
Street signs. I've got 2 street signs that I need to replace the post on. And then I've got 2 street signs that I need to buy for our beloved little island over here in front of.
Let me tell you what there's that island. Forget it. No one pays any attention to it anyway, and the best thing to correct that is get a bulldozer in there and make it into a.
100%, I've already tried getting quotes on that too.
Okay,
Well, you need to talk to Mr. Hicks about street signs then.
and what was the other streets? Well, that one's been down for what, how many months now?
It's been down several months because people run over it, but I
Yeah,
was
so-
going to relocate it and put up a different type of sign. So, that's up to you. I got quotes, it's $531.82 for 2 signs and 3 posts.
Right, kind of Bob's house.
Yeah,
right?
it's like.
It's
one pays
MVH.
attention. No one pays any attention to it.
Hicks, what's our, what's the, legal standing on that, I guess?
Yeah,
No.
you're standing before it makes a decision, and you follow through with it, but you've got an intersection where the car goes up that way, which I'm not seeing anybody go that long way, but I'll pull them over. But it usually gets knocked over during the festival time, when it gets knocked over, because you get 50,000 people in the park in a spot this morning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, it's really, I mean, she's the attorney, if the town wants to know about liability. If the car goes up the wrong way and one goes down, because that's the natural way to go that way, I mean, anybody can sue anybody. I mean, that's, everybody's middle name is
That's the big
Sue.
world.
So, hey, yours is. So.
Yeah.
Main thing is we got our stop signs up, that's the main thing. That one there was just make sure that traffic just doesn't go the wrong way and get somebody hurt. I'm like Tony, I've always wanted to flatten it, just make it a straight road, but
Yeah,
as long as I've
that's
been
right.
alive, I remember it being that way.
Yep.
We used to jump it when I was young, but
Oh, yeah.
that was in mid-life.
So where's the other sign, Tony?
Basically, I got, where we redone the sidewalks down here in front of Russell's, I need to get a new post to put the speed limit sign back up. And then over at the south end of West Street, I need a new post for a sign over there. There was a curb sign that, got damaged and bent, and I just never got to put back up. So there's curb sign at West Street, speed limit sign at Chippewa, and then our beloved island,
So if we don't do the island, what's the cost?
around $300.
Is one for the street sign, was that when we did the sidewalks?
It was, we done the sidewalk because the tree was taken out and the signpost got removed there and we got bent removing it.
I didn't get bent from
I didn't do it. And I'll take the blame for it, but I didn't do
So you
it.
just need to get a new post for that?
I can't get a new post for that. So I need 2 posts. They're a little over $100 a piece, so I just said $300.
Make a motion to get 2 new posts for $200.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our beloved 94 Ford dump truck, the front fuel tank is leaking. Don't have any idea what it's gonna cost to get it fixed, but they said worst case scenario, replacing the tank, straps, all that, is around $800. That's Maxwell's. We've been using just the rear tank on it, but it's leaking. If we put gas in it, it runs out, so.
You get a second bid for that?
No, it's not.
All right,
It's all Maxwell. You want me to get a second bid for it?
that's all right.
NVH.
Make a motion to get a new one, $300.
Yeah,
How much you saying?
800.
8.
Yeah, yeah.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Down at the sewer plant, I have a meter that we do our water testing with and our sewer testing with. It has to be calibrated every year. I have to send it off to the lab,
Doesn't
get
need to be approved.
calibrated. It is $1,333 to get it calibrated and a loaner meter until we get it back.
I pay it every year.
Yeah,
I pay that
That
every
should
year.
be all
It's
automatic.
regular, and
I-
so
okay.
don't even need that approved. I do that every year.
That one was easy.
Manhole risers. Since Comcast has been in town, we have located everything that we know to locate in this town. There's several manholes that we had to find with metal detectors, shovels, whatever you want to call it. They're all below grade. Some of them come up 2 inches, some of them come up 5 inches, some of them come up 8 inches, just depends on what the situation is. Some are under people's driveways, some are in their yards, whatever. I got a cost for risers for them. They're anywhere from $187 to $300, depending on how far up I have to bring. I can do this in steps. I can get you price per manhole, whatever you guys want to do, but it's something that I believe needs to happen.
How many do you have to do? I mean, no, honestly, that would be a big help.
I would guess, I know of 6 right now that I can tell you off the top of my head.
But
And I
not
know-
200,
Huh?
but not 200.
We don't have 200, so no, it wouldn't be 200, but I know
We have 200 customers.
These are manholes.
Manholes.
Oh, the big manholes,
I'll
okay.
meter, I ain't even got started on meter pits. That'd be later on. The manholes, I know of about 6 of them right now, and I know one of them needs a 5-inch riser on it. So that one alone would be over $500.
So an inch, $100.
Yes, pretty much.
Pretty
It like I said, it starts at 187. An inch is 187, an inch and a half is less than 200, and then it keeps crawling up from there and stuff. You can get up to a 4-inch riser, and it's $300. So I would need an inch and a half, or an inch and a 4-inch riser, so it would be roughly about $500.
So out of those 6 risers, you know the amount for each one of them?
I could guesstimate right now that I would say I'm gonna need probably 20 inches. So you're looking at $2,000. Like I said, it ain't all gotta be done right this minute, but it's something that I wanna work towards and do. If I do 5 inches a month or 5 inches a year, or whatever you guys tell me, but there's several of them in town that are below grade.
Sewer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Why don't you identify the worst ones and we'll go from there.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with sewer.
Dirt. Our water main break we had over here on Church Street back in February and stuff. When we dig dirt up, especially with all the water that's running through it, you can't put it back in the ground because it'll make the pipe refreeze. So we have to take the dirt out. We've got a stockpile down here of some dirt, but I would like to have some, I reached out to Scott Haynes, and he's got dirt out there at the compost pile. It's basically $200 a scoop. I can haul 4 scoops or so in the town truck. No, $200 a scoop is about 1 scoop in the truck. So I asked him about bringing me like a semi-load just to have a stockpile down there, and basically be about $1,000 to have dirt down there. So when we do dig up something else, I got dirt to put back in.
What all would that be coming out of then?
Where did you say you were gonna put it? Where you putting the dirt?
It'd be in tree lawns or where we dig it up and stuff. I mean, it could either be
Like
water
in the water.
or.
I can, no. I can get by with putting it into, if you're putting it in tree lawns, I can get by with putting it into MVH.
If we do any digging in the street, we replace it with gravel, and that's the reason for the extra gravel that we have done.
I'd put all that into MVH, all that gravel that we bought.
The tree lawns or anything like that, we try to use the dirt, and that way we don't have.
I don't have a problem with going to MVH on that.
So you said 1,000? Make a motion to approve the $1,000 for dirt.
All in favor?
Aye.
Got it.
The only other thing that I have on my list is the state is stating that we need to implement a valve exercise program. I have over 100 valves in the ground here in this town. I know that we have 43 fire hydrants, so we have 43 valves going to them hydrants. I know personally that all 43 of those turn. I've turned them. But out of the other 60 or so that's in the ground, I don't have a clue. I know there's several of them that do not turn. And if I can't turn them, Damon or Bruce or anybody else that's gonna be involved in it, ain't gonna be able to turn them either. This last little issue that we had with the water main break, where I had to shut the whole town down, I could have isolated it to 5 houses if I'd had the valve working. So I have reached out to get quotes on valve exercisers. I have reached out to try to find companies that I can rent them from. And I've only got one quote back for a valve exerciser, and it was over $10,000. And it was not even the valve exerciser that I wanted. So I'm still working on that. I'm just telling you guys a heads up that this is something that we're going to do sooner or later, because there again, the state's telling me that this will happen. If we don't, it's gonna cost you more than 10 grand, I guarantee it.
Do any local communities have any?
I talked to Manchester, they do have one, and they absolutely will not let us use it.
Classic
They
Manchester.
said they just don't do that. As far as like the smaller communities and stuff, I haven't talked to anybody in Wabash yet, but the smaller Denver, Mexico, LaGrove, Urbana don't have anything, but the other places.
But I mean, if we did get one, is it possible we could loan it out? I mean, are all these communities gonna have to be doing it then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a mandated thing and stuff. I know that the Alliance, which is an organization that helps us out with a lot of things and stuff, they just told me last week that they were told to start searching for one. If the Alliance gets one, then we can be able to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But do we sit around and wait on that? I don't know how nice my inspector is gonna be in that time frame. He told me that as long as I was moving forward and showing progress, he was fine with it, but he did tell me that it was gonna happen sooner or later. And I just, they've got some cheaper ones out there that are between $5,000 and $6,000, but I don't know. They're only 400 foot-pounds of torque, where the one I want is like 800 foot-pounds of torque. And I don't wanna spend $5,000 or $6,000 on something that may or may not work. And they're battery operated.
But get the quote on what you're interested in, and then also talk to LeGros and I mean, see if they have interest, they would be using it too.
I know they could. They got a new operator over there and stuff, but I know they could. I've already talked to them about a few other things.
Maybe we can share with them. Well,
May I make a suggestion,
yes, sir.
please? I know in 2024, last year, I put back $5,500 for a valve exerciser, because that was what was in the capital improvement, which is obviously not enough money. But if I could make a suggestion, from the way I read this, if one breaks, it's going to cost a minimum of $4,000. What I would suggest is that, and I'm just making a suggestion because I've got to think of it money wise. He goes out and he exercises the valves, and he can break up to 4 this year. Now, he may only exercise 4 and break all 4 of them. He may exercise 5 and they'll be okay, and then he breaks the next 4. Now, that will give that makes $16,000 that we can spend on the repair of those 4 that he broke. Then next year, he goes back and exercises those 10, which are the 4 he broke, the 6 that were already okay, breaks 4 more, however far he can go before he breaks 4 more. Now we've got another 16,000 that we can do until we get them all done. But every year he goes back and does everything that he did the year before and breaks 4 more. And then that way we could get to, sooner or later get to the end, and I don't see a problem with that. Maybe he'll want to, and I'm not telling him how to do his job. By all means, I don't know how to do his job. I'm just looking at it as a money way. So maybe he'll want to exercise as the ones that he knows will be okay. And then let's say next year he goes back and re-exercises every single thing. And then he finds that one of those break. Well, that counts as one of the 4s, but he can break 4 a year, and then he keeps track of everything he's exercised. I have no problem with that. My problem would be if we exercise 10 and all 10 of them broke, where am I going to come up with $40,000? When right now in water, because we're talking about water, in water we have 20 altogether in operating and in depreciation. I have $28,000 for the town. What people don't realize, and I know it upsets people every time I send it, I'm to say, I want to get to say this. I know people get upset with me and my office every time they get a bill and their bills go up. I do not, my office does not make the water bills go up. What makes the water bills go up is things like this, because now we have to pay for them some way. So that is why your water bill goes up, because we have things that we have to do. My office doesn't make that fluctuate. So what I want to try to do is I want to try to get all these things done that we need to get done because they're important. Everything that's here is important in some way. But I've got to I can't spend more money than what we have. And can we get a loan? Yeah, we can get a loan. But guess what? If we get a loan, everybody's water bill goes up another 30 to 40%. I don't want to be in town when they go up another 30 to 40%. I'm leaving. So we don't want to do that. Can we get a CDBG? Yeah, we can get a CDBG, but again, we're going to have to pay $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 just to get to the point where we can put in for the CDBG. And then we need another 20% of what the grant is. And so again, we still have to raise people's water bills. So if we can do it this way, I'm happy that we don't have to raise them any more than what we've already constituted in here. Right now, I'm saving money back for a generator, but the generator really isn't scheduled until 2026, the end of 2026, and we're already talking about it now. So now I've got to try to figure out, what do I get rid of that we've already put back so that we can buy the generator now and then move it. And I know it upsets people when I say, okay, we're going to have to move the tractor back, or we're going to have to move this back. And y'all say, well, you're supposed to already save for that. I can't save for it if we're spending it on other things. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem moving the generator up, but we got to know that we have to move other things back because, again, that down there is a business. It's a business. It takes no tax money in. There's no tax money that goes down there, but it's not supposed to be a for-profit business. It is a dollar for dollar business. Every dollar that goes in, a dollar goes out. But I can't put a dollar in and pull two out, or else we'll bankrupt the utility. So we got to be very, very careful. And I know it, I'm going to use the word, pisses you guys off when I say we don't have money for something. But the thing is, if we don't have it, we don't have it. Sometimes, even as fathers, you had to tell your kids, sorry, no shoes this month because we don't have money for it. And that's unfortunately my job. So sometimes I just have to say, we don't have money for this. But I'm always willing to try to figure out a way. As Jerry said, I will try to squeeze $100 out of a nickel, but sometimes I can't squeeze any tighter. So yes, I just wanted you to know where I'm at. If we can do it like that, I am super happy if it works for him.
Just to go back. So you're saying it'd be cheaper if we did it ourselves versus using a CDBG?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we're going to have to.
Sorry, it was a joke.
And I'm okay with you saying that. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. But again, if you do the CDBG, you can get it all done now.
Yeah.
Instead of setting on it for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, so if you get the quotes.
I'll work on it.
Okay.
Tony, is there anything else on that
The
list?
only thing that I got is Shantae wanted to be here tonight, but she said she had some class to go to, so she asked me to ask you guys about getting some dirt for the ball field. The one quote, or the one price she got was from a company that we've used in the past, which is Lefferts over in Walnut, or in Walton. I guess they specialize in baseball field dirt. But it's $1,176 for a triaxle delivered.
We have it in the park thing.
We do have, we have money in the park
But
fund.
she's also got field prep, which is another type of dirt that she puts on there to help dry things up and stuff, which is another $550. So you're looking at,
15.
would be 617.26.
Make a motion to approve the 1726.
Second.
The only other thing I got that's not asking for money is the well that you guys approved to get rebuilt, has been rebuilt. I have one water sample at the lab right now. I'll find out tomorrow if it comes back good, then I have to do another water sample, so the well should be turned on by the end of the week.
Yeah.
So we'll be back up to full capacity with our pumping. Oh, no, I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Steve.
You got it in front of me from now on.
I told you last week.
There we go. That's all we need now. Thanks, Steve. Do you have anything
I'm not gonna spend any money, I'll tell you that, but,
this time?
yeah, this time, but, the houses that the planning commission got hold of, he's talked with the owners for two of them. The other one's going to court first of May. And the fourth one, I think they're going after them because they just won't communicate, for unsafe premise. So he's working with two of them to see if they do make progress on repairs and getting them where they need to be at, so they're, not unsafe. It's springtime, so now is when order season will come in, so I'll start hitting houses for cars and all the orders that we have. So, besides that, the Tahoe, some bird doo-doo on it. I got a bird at my house that hates both my cars. I'm like,
No,
"Oh,"
it's a car
but,
wash.
well, the darn thing won't stop. But that's why it's parked along the side, because I got home from Indianapolis and have time to go wash it, but I do watch it when it's like that, so I I usually run in town and wash it really good in there. So I got a receipt to show it, because I pay like $11 a time washing it, so. But besides that, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
There
Thank you,
was
sir.
an incident earlier tonight, but it was cleared up, so.
Okay, good.
I mean, it wouldn't harm anybody.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
He's telling us how it's done.
The only thing I have is that we did get service on the railroad for the railroad property. So that notice has been served.
Good.
And we're still in the redemption period, so.
Bob,
Absolutely not.
gentlemen,
Whoever's mowing around the Roann sign looks really nice. Who did that?
oh, that's, someone does that volunteer.
Oh, looks great.
Art. Who is it?
Gary Dawson?
Has always done it, has always done it. Mhm. Anybody have anything out there? If not, meeting adjourned 2 minutes before 9.